Today met and as usual we started off with a progress report on Zimbabwe's response to COVID-19 pandemic, procurement also and rollout of vaccines. Cabinet received an update on the country's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, procurement and rollout of vaccines as presented by the chairperson of the Ministers' National Committee, who is the Vice President and Minister of Health and Child Care, Honorable Dr. CGDN Chiwenga. The nation is advised that as at 15 November 2021, the country's cumulative COVID-19 cases stood at 133,471, with 128,305 recoveries and 4,697 deaths. The recovery rate was 96%, with 469 active cases reported. The number of COVID-19 cases in schools is declining. Also, the number of people in need of hospitalization for COVID-19 also decreased, with no patients under intensive care. In general, therefore, this indicates that the national response measures instituted by government continue to pay off and that the pandemic is being brought under control. Government, nonetheless, continues to call upon citizens to strictly observe the National and World Health Organization COVID-19 protocols, as well as to get vaccinated to prevent a fourth wave of the COVID-19 outbreak. Regarding the National Vaccination Program, Cabinet wishes to inform the nation that as at 15 November 2021, a total of 3,483,353 first doses of the COVID-19 vaccine had been administered, while 2,706,096 people had received their second dose. The cumulative weekly total first and second doses, that is, of vaccines administered during the week increased to 144,253 from the 114,873 which were administered the previous week, indicating that the provincial vaccination blitz, which was launched in October, are yielding the desired results and will be strengthened. Focus continues to be on achieving the end-of-year national and global target of total population coverage of 60% and 40% respectively. To this end, members of the public are urged to present themselves for vaccination as provincial vaccination teams have ramped up implementation of their respective district vaccination micro plans, including even mobilization campaigns. On the procurement of vaccines, it is advised that 435,600 doses were received on 5 November 2021, bringing the cumulative number of vaccines received to date to 13.3 million doses. Government takes this opportunity to assure the nation that most of the country's vaccines still have some years to go before expiration. Cabinet would also like to announce the extension of the level 2 lockdown by an additional 2 weeks. This is to enable all to heighten vaccination uptake in order to protect the nation against a possible fourth wave of the pandemic. Moving on to the update on the 2021-2022 summer production season. The Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Honorable Dr. Anxious Masuka, presented this update on the 2021-2022 summer production season, and it was adopted by Cabinet. Regarding the ongoing marketing of grain, a record total of 1,265,688 metric tons of grain have so far been delivered to GMB, comprising of 1,092,469 metric tons of maize, which represents a 535% increase compared to last year. Then 981,679 metric tons of soybeans. That translates to a 911% increase. Then 176,000 263 metric tons of wheat, representing an 8% increase, and wheat is still being delivered. And then 98,641 metric tons of traditional grains, and that shows a 657% increase. Mashonaland West Province is the highest maize, soybean, and wheat deliveries, while Mashonaland Central Province is the highest traditional grains intake. The grain delivered to date is valued at about 46.6 billion Zimbabwe dollars, and government is making strenuous efforts to expedite payment of the outstanding 5.6 billion to farmers. On preparations for the summer grains production season, over 2 million farmers have so far been trained under the climate-proof presidential inputs, which is Pfumvudza in Twasa, while 2.3 million have already done the requisite land preparation, that is digging holes and hauling out. Inputs distribution under this scheme is ongoing. Then under the National Enhanced Agriculture Production Program, that's NIPS, or as you know it, Command Agriculture, CBZ Agro Yield has so far contracted 66,598 hectares, and payment verifications are underway. To ensure farmer viability, curbside marketing, and reduce costs of production, government is engaging private sector financiers to put in place measures to curb exchange rate losses, as well as ensure interest rates remain at sustainable levels. Local fertilizer companies will also be supported to make the commodity affordable through local production. In that regard, the foreign currency auction market is being fine-tuned to ensure the companies get the requisite foreign currency on time, and funding backlogs are being cleared on the auction market. Meanwhile, some 113,475 tobacco growers have registered for the 2021-2022 season, compared to 123,159 growers who registered during the same period last season. To date, a total of 24,682 hectares of tobacco have been planted, and this represents a 31% increase in the total area planted last season. Then pertaining to cotton, Cabinet wishes to advise the public that the marketing of seed cotton has tailed off. A total of 132,862,054 kilograms were delivered to the country's 6 cotton contractors, compared to just about 83,059,898 kilograms, which was received last year. And this translates to a 59.1% increase. In terms of preparations for the 2021-2022 summer production season, a total of 347,583 households have been trained under the Presidential Climate-Proof Pfumvudza in Twasa cotton program, and inputs distribution is underway for cotton. Then we move on to the construction of government boarding schools. Cabinet considered and approved the construction of government boarding schools as presented by the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, Honorable Professor Mavima, as chairperson of the Cabinet Committee on Social Services and Poverty Eradication. The nation is informed that the country has realized a phenomenal increase in learner enrollment, and this has resulted in the need for the establishment of more primary and secondary schools. Currently, there are 9,778 schools, with 6,798 primary schools and 2,980 being secondary schools, and a total enrollment of 4,659,993. Only 1.9% of the 6,798 primary schools are boarding schools, with only 35 of these being government-owned. Then of the 2,980 secondary schools, only 10.6% are boarding schools and only 60 are owned by government. The boarding secondary schools can only accommodate 24,000 learners, which is a mere 0.52% of the current enrollment. The demand for education continued to rise, with 37.3% of the country's estimated total population being of school-going age. More schools are needed to accommodate the projected increase to 5,657,412 for the school-going age group. The COVID-19 pandemic has also increased the demand for new schools and additional school infrastructure so as to decongest existing boarding schools. To cater for the increase in demand for both primary and secondary education and ensure that no child walks more than 5 kilometers to school, the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education intends to build 3,000 new schools by 2025. During implementation of the project, more secondary than primary boarding schools will be constructed in an endeavor to satisfy increased demand. Some existing day schools will be converted into boarding schools, while some low-cost boarding facilities will be constructed at existing schools as the need arises. This project will be implemented in phases next year, starting with 144 model 21st century government primary and secondary boarding schools spread across all the country's 10 provinces. One primary and one secondary boarding school will be with adequate state-of-the-art facilities will be constructed in each of the 72 districts of the country. Adequate furniture and ICT equipment will be procured for each school, while a source of clean potable water will be installed within 500 meters of the school, and including a reticulation system and ablution facilities. Each school of the schools which are going to be built will be electrified and provided with internet facilities. The school will be fenced and civil works in terms of access roads, a car park and landscaping will be undertaken. Each school will have enough land for sport infrastructure, commercial farming and manufacturing. Treasury will fund the first 144 schools, while public-private sector or joint venture arrangements will be crafted to assist in the construction of 3,000 new schools which are required. Then we moved on to update on the Expo 2020 Dubai. Cabinet received an update on Expo 2020 Dubai as presented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable Dr. Frederick Makamure Shaw. The nation is informed that the construction of the Zimbabwe Pavilion, which is inspired by the Great Zimbabwe Monument, its stonework and conical towers was completed on time, allowing it to open to the public on the official opening day on 30 September 2021. The exhibition is punctuated by objects which include traditional musical instruments, the Big Five bearded animals, picture gallery, sculptures, traditional objects, jewelry, seed display, and digital content screening of various economic sectors and opportunities. The Zimbabwe Pavilion received a total of 55,500 visitors in the month of October, and this is attributed to its strategic location, which is close to the host, the United Arab Emirates Pavilion. The custom-made Zimbabwean Pavilion passport stamp is also a major draw card. The nation is advised that the agriculture sector has been receiving the second highest inquiries, as most companies are keen to invest in agriculture in Zimbabwe due to the emphasis on organic and natural produce. Cabinet would like to encourage the private sector to participate at this fair. The calendar of events which are lined up to 31st March 2022 can be obtained on the Expo 2020 Dubai website and at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. Then we moved on to the report on the establishment of the Horticulture Export Revolving Fund. Cabinet considered and adopted proposals on the establishment of the Horticulture Export Revolving Fund, and this was presented by the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Honorable Professor Mutuli Ngube. The Horticulture Export Revolving Fund will be financed to the tune of US $30 million in order to support export-oriented horticultural production companies with their foreign currency requirements. It will be recalled that government has proposed to use part of the special drawing rights received from the International Monetary Fund to support these productive sectors of the economy. In the agriculture productive sector, priority has been placed on the horticulture and irrigation development. Treasury has therefore engaged stakeholders in the horticulture export sector on the modalities for the establishment of the Horticultural Export Revolving Fund, and this is in line with the Horticulture Recovery and Growth Plan. Horticulture is one of the key subsectors of the agricultural sector in our country, with substantial potential of successful production across all agroecological regions. Zimbabwe was among the top 3 horticulture producers in the world after the Netherlands and Ecuador up to 2002. The Second Republic intends, through this revolving fund, to restore Zimbabwe's former glory. Currently, the industry contributes US $77 million to the country's export revenue and employs about 18,700 people. And we all know that horticulture is a major foreign currency earner and is projected to contribute US $300 million annually in export earnings by 2030. To attain and sustain this level of growth, the Horticultural Export Revolving Fund will address the major challenges of unavailability and lack of access to appropriately structured financing for short to long-term expenditures. The fund will also close the funding gap in the value addition and beneficiation of fresh produce, which has resulted in horticultural value chain margins being unsustainably squeezed. Value addition increases return on investment by offering a diversified group of off-takers for horticultural farmers, even for lower grade produce. Cabinet wishes to inform the public that the facility will be accessed through the normal banking channels, with applicants or intended beneficiaries submitting their request to participating banks with the requisite information. Government and the participating banks will monitor and evaluate the use of resources advanced to borrowers, while a multi-sector coordination committee has been set up to undertake the following functions, among others. 1. Periodically review the performance of the fund in terms of amount paid out, number of beneficiaries, and non-performing loans. Then 2. Periodically assess how the deployment of resources through spot visits to beneficiaries. And 3. Periodically review beneficiary export firms for program monitoring and evaluation. The following indicators will be collected and analyzed on a regular basis, like volumes and value of exports by value chain and destination, and market intelligence and export promotion studies for specific market segments and value chains, then the number of new horticultural investments projects started, also the number of new jobs which would have been created, and finally the number of smallholder farmers engaged in horticultural exports by gender. Cabinet notes that farmers have hitherto been disadvantaged by lack of markets. However, as a result of the Second Republic's current engagement and re-engagement efforts, markets are beginning to open up. The fund will ensure the capacitation of Zimtrade and the Agricultural Marketing Authority, AMA, to enhance them to open up verifiable markets for off-takers for our horticultural produce. Another key highlight under the fund is the establishment of value addition facilities close to production bases in order to unlock the country's horticultural smallholder potential. As stipulated in the National Horticultural Recovery and Growth Plan, the fund will also be used to develop the hub and spoke model to create markets for surrounding communities and also bring in a number of services in rural areas. We know what has been launched by our President in Mutoko. Beyond production, the fund also makes provisions for logistics and cold chain facilities, a move which will lower post-harvest losses and facilitate market access. Mentorship programs will also receive support under this fund. And we moved on to an update on the state of preparedness to host International Conference of African Cultures, ICAC 2021, and this is happening on the 23rd to the 25th November 2021. Cabinet received and have considered an update on the state of preparedness to host the International Conference of African Cultures, ICAC, and this was presented by the Minister of Youth, Sports, Arts and Recreation, Honorable Dr. Kirsty Coventry. The nation is informed that preparations for the hosting of this conference are at an advanced stage of completion. The conference will be in hybrid format, that is both physical and virtual attendance by 34 delegates from Zimbabwe and the African continent. The conference will be live streamed on all social media platforms. The public is informed that there will be a visual exhibition running with the theme, and I quote, "Looking Back and Looking Towards the Future, Celebrating Africa in Africa," unquote. And I thank you sincerely for listening.